Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. Hastings 1895 was the most important tournament of the 19th century. All the best players in the world were there. Round 9 saw the clash between two world champions. World champion Emanuel Lasker was white and black was the previous world champion Wilhelm Steinitz. It was only the year before that Steinitz lost the title to Lasker, and here in Hastings they clashed again. Let's look at the game. Lasker white, Steinitz black. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, the Ruy Lopez, the Spanish opening, bishop a4, d6, Lasker castled, and knight ge7, the Steinitz defense played by Steinitz. c3, bishop d7, d4, knight g6, rook e1, bishop e7, knight bd2, Steinitz castled, knight f1, and queen e8. With this move, Steinitz threatened to take on d4. Just to show you that threat, let's make a silly move for white, for example h3. Then black can take on d4. And if you then take on d7, attacking the queen, black has an in-between move. Knight takes f3, check. And you have to take that knight, and then black takes back on d7 and has won a pawn. If you don't take on d7 but play c takes d4, taking the knight, then black regains the piece on a4, because that bishop is protected by the queen on e8. So that is the threat, and Lasker played bishop c2 to take that knight takes d4 move out of the equation. Here Steinitz should have taken on d4 with the pawn. The problem is that white is already a bit better. Black's opening setup has not worked out, and black risks being strangled by white. So he should have taken on d4, but instead he played king h8. Knight g3, bishop g4, d5, kicking the knight. The knight went back to b8, which is okay to go back to its initial square, because then it can go to d7 from there. h3, asking the bishop a question, and here Steinitz should have played bishop takes f3, but he went back to c8, a typical Steinitz move, retreating. Knight f5 and bishop d8. He did not want the bishop to be taken. Better would have been to take that knight, bishop takes f5, but after e takes f5, white has a big advantage. He also has a big advantage after bishop d8. He played g4. The knight went back to e7. And white did not want to trade the knight on f5. He played the knight back to g3. And here, look at this move. Knight g8. Wilhelm Steinitz never shied away from extremities, but this is a bit much. All his pieces are back on the bottom rank. Black has undeveloped his pieces. Quite a nice picture, but not good for black. Let's see how this develops. King g2, knight d7. We've played 18 moves and black has to start developing all over again. Bishop e3, knight b6. There's really no future for the knight on that square, but what else can he do? b3, keeping the knight on b6 at bay. Bishop d7, c4, knight back to c8, queen d2, knight ce7. It's not clear where this knight is heading to. What would have been better for black to play is g6, and then the maneuver bishop d8, f6 to g7. That would have made more sense. c5 from Lasker, g6, queen c3. Lasker is maneuvering patiently, and f5. Steinitz is attacking here at the wrong moment. He should have played f6 to stop the piece sacrifice that's hitting him now. Knight takes e5 from the world champion. A very strong piece sacrifice. What would have been even better is to prepare this piece sacrifice with g5 to keep the knight away from f6, to really keep black in his box. But knight takes e5 immediately is also very strong. That piece was taken, and queen takes with check. Knight f6, shield in a check, and bishop d4 from Lasker. It's worth noting that g5 in this position is not a good move. It looks good because it's winning the piece on f6, but there is knight e takes d5, which is a refutation of the g5 push. The queen is attacked, the white queen is attacked, and if you take on e8, there is knight takes e3 check, rook takes, and then black takes back on e8, and black is better. So after knight e takes d5, you should not take on e8. The best move is bishop d4, and then queen takes e5, bishop takes e5, and this is an equal position. For example, knight b4 to save the piece, and position is equal. So Lasker did not play g5, he played bishop d4, protecting his queen. F takes g4 from Steinitz. Pawn was taking back, and the threat is now again g5 to regain the material. So bishop takes g4, and now the very strong queen g5 winning the piece back. The bishop on g4 is hanging because the knight on f6 is pinned. So queen d7 to protect the bishop, but then white wins the knight on f6. Bishop takes f6, king g8, bishop d1, bishop h3. Steinitz is looking for counterplay. King g1, and here it's black who sacrifices a piece. Knight takes d5. Of course, white should not take the knight, because then there's bishop takes f6, and black is winning. But Lasker played the right move. Bishop takes d8. If you take that back, then there is queen takes d5, then you can take the piece. And for example, queen takes, e takes, and rook takes, and white is winning. He's just a piece up. So Steinitz played knight f4, still looking for counterplay, bringing his pieces forward. Bishop f6, back. Queen d2, and here Lasker deals with black's counterplay in the easiest way. He just gives some material back. He's a full piece up, and now he returns an exchange with rook e2. Knight takes, bishop takes, and if Steinitz would have swapped the queens here, queen takes g5, then bishop takes g5, and for example, king g7, rook e1, with a winning position for white. In this position, bishop and knight are stronger than the rook, and the pawn on e4 is white's main trump card. Instead of swapping the queens, Steinitz went back to d7 with the queen, rook d1, queen f7, trying to give some help to the king, bishop c4, bishop e6, and here comes e5 with a very strong attack. Here Steinitz played bishop takes c4, which is not a good move, but white's attack is too strong anyway. Just to show you another variation, if he had played rook ae8, then the move that's played in the game comes here as well. Knight f5 with the threat of knight h6 winning the queen. Bishop takes f5 also costs the queen after bishop takes f7 check, and there's really nothing else. After the move played in the game, bishop takes c4, there was also knight f5, and here the former world champion Wilhelm Steinitz resigned. Why did he resign? The threat is knight h6, and that's not only winning the queen, it's actually checkmate. So a move like queen e8 to save the queen from the fork doesn't help, because knight h6 is checkmate. If you play rook fd8 instead to give the king a square, it fails on the same move. Knight a6 check, king f8, and you have to swap first, rook takes d8 back, and then you just win the queen with knight takes f7, and white is a lot of material up. A great win from world champion Emanuel Lasker against his predecessor, and Wilhelm Steinitz went too far in his extremities this time, undeveloping all his pieces. That proved not to work against the world champion. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and I'm looking forward to your comments. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. I just posted a video on Garry Kasparov as a 14-year-old. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.